Have you ever wondered why some people remain calm and collected during life's biggest storms, while others crumble under the slightest pressure? Do you sometimes feel that despite all your efforts to find happiness, it remains just beyond your grasp? What if I told you that an ancient philosophy practiced by emperors and slaves alike holds the key to transforming your everyday challenges into profound opportunities for growth? The wisdom of Stoicism isn't just some dusty academic philosophy. It's a practical approach to life that can revolutionize how you handle stress, relationships, success, and failure. Today, I'm sharing 13 timeless Stoic principles that can transform your life starting right now, not someday in the distant future. By the end of this video, you'll have powerful tools to navigate life's complexities with grace and wisdom. These aren't just concepts to understand, they're practices to implement immediately. So stay with me until the end, because your journey toward a more resilient, purposeful life begins here. Lesson number 1. Distinguishing between what you can and cannot control. The cornerstone of Stoic philosophy is remarkably simple yet profoundly transformative. It's about recognizing what lies within your control and what doesn't. Think about your typical day. How much energy do you waste worrying about the weather, traffic, other people's opinions, or global events that you cannot influence? Epictetus, who began his life as a slave and became one of Stoicism's greatest teachers, wrote, "Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, office, and, in a word, whatever is not of our own doing." When you find yourself feeling anxious or frustrated, ask yourself, is this within my control? If it isn't, practice the art of letting go. This doesn't mean becoming passive or indifferent. Instead, it means channeling your precious energy toward what you can actually influence: your thoughts, your actions, your responses. A modern psychologist might call this focusing on your circle of influence, rather than your circle of concern. When you redirect your attention to what you can control, something remarkable happens. Your effectiveness increases and your stress decreases. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This simple distinction, properly applied, can transform your entire approach to life's challenges. Lesson number 2. Embracing discomfort as a path to growth. We live in a world obsessed with comfort and convenience. We avoid difficult conversations, shy away from challenging situations, and retreat from anything that makes us feel uncomfortable. But Stoics understood something crucial. True growth happens at the edge of comfort. Seneca advised, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" This practice of voluntary discomfort trains us to distinguish between genuine hardship and mere inconvenience. By intentionally embracing small discomforts, we build resilience for life's inevitable challenges. Think about the last time you pushed through something difficult, perhaps a challenging workout, a difficult conversation, or a task that required deep focus. The discomfort was temporary, but the satisfaction and growth that followed were lasting. Modern science confirms what Stoics knew intuitively. Neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to reorganize itself, is activated most powerfully when we step outside our comfort zones. By embracing discomfort rather than avoiding it, we literally rewire our brains for greater resilience. So tomorrow morning, try taking a cold shower, fasting for a day, or having the difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Small practices of voluntary discomfort prepare you for life's larger challenges. transforming obstacles into opportunities for growth. Lesson number 3, practicing negative visualization. This might sound counterintuitive in our positivity-obsessed culture, but Stoics regularly practiced contemplating worst-case scenarios. This practice, called premeditatio malorum or premeditation of evils, isn't about dwelling in negativity. Rather, it's about preparing the mind for life's uncertainties. Seneca advised, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man." But he who knows that this was the condition laid down for him at the moment of his conception will live on those terms, and at the same time will guarantee with a similar strength of mind that no events take him by surprise. Take a moment to imagine losing something you value, perhaps your job, your home, or even a relationship. This isn't to invite misfortune, but to remind yourself of the impermanence of all things. When we acknowledge that nothing lasts forever, we develop deeper gratitude for what we currently have. This practice also helps us prepare for challenges. By visualizing potential obstacles in advance, we can develop contingency plans rather than being paralyzed when difficulties arise. Athletes use a similar technique, mentally rehearsing both perfect performances and potential setbacks, preparing themselves for any scenario. The Stoics weren't pessimists. They were realists who understood that by contemplating loss, we become more appreciative of what we have and more prepared for life's inevitable changes. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Lesson number 4, developing the observer mind. When emotions run high, Stoics practiced stepping back and observing their thoughts rather than being consumed by them. This separation between experiencing an emotion and being defined by it is crucial for maintaining inner peace. Epictetus taught, "Make it your practice to say to every harsh appearance, 'You are just an appearance and not at all what you appear to be.'" This doesn't mean suppressing emotions, but rather developing the ability to observe them with curiosity rather than judgment. When you feel anger rising, try saying to yourself, "I notice I'm feeling angry," rather than "I am angry." This subtle shift creates space between you and the emotion, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Modern mindfulness practices echo this ancient wisdom. Neuroscience confirms that naming our emotions activates the prefrontal cortex, the brain's rational center, helping to calm the amygdala, our emotional alarm system. Practicing the observer mind transforms your relationship with challenging emotions. Instead of being tossed about like a ship in a storm, you become like the lighthouse, steady and aware, even as emotions surge around you. Next time you feel overwhelmed by emotion, pause and practice this mental step back. Notice the physical sensations, observe the thoughts arising, and remember that you are the awareness witnessing these experiences, not the experiences themselves. Lesson number 5, living in accordance with nature. For Stoics, living according to nature meant aligning our actions with both our human nature and the broader natural order. It's about recognizing our place in the greater scheme of things and acting in harmony with our highest potential. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything harmonizes with me which is harmonious to thee, O universe. Nothing for me is too early or too late, which is in due time for thee." This perspective encourages us to accept the natural rhythms of life rather than constantly fighting against them. On a personal level, living according to nature means understanding your own unique strengths, limitations, and purpose. It means pursuing what the Stoics called virtue, excellence of character expressed through wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. Consider how often we live contrary to our nature, staying up late despite our bodies craving sleep, eating foods that make us feel terrible, or pursuing careers that crush our spirit. Living according to nature means listening to these internal signals and respecting our natural boundaries. On a broader scale, it means accepting the natural order of things, including the inevitability of change and death. When we resist these natural processes, we create needless suffering. When we accept them, we find peace even amidst life's constant fluctuations. Today, consider where you might be fighting against nature, either your own internal nature or the broader natural order. How might you bring your life into greater alignment with these natural laws? Lesson number 6, practicing daily reflection. Stoics were committed to regular self-examination. They understood that without conscious reflection, we risk living on autopilot, repeating the same mistakes and missing opportunities for growth. Seneca advised, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, aware of this habit that's now mine, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by." This practice of daily reflection isn't about self-judgment but self-awareness. Each evening, ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where could I have been better? What lessons can I take forward? The power of this practice lies in its regularity. By examining our actions daily, we catch patterns before they become entrenched habits. We celebrate small victories that might otherwise go unnoticed. We course correct when needed, making micro adjustments that lead to significant growth over time. Modern research confirms the value of reflection. Studies show that people who take time to reflect on their experiences learn more effectively than those who simply accumulate experiences without examining them. Try keeping a journal by your bedside and spending just 5 minutes each evening in reflection. These few minutes of conscious attention can transform your growth trajectory, turning everyday experiences into valuable lessons. Lesson number 7, practicing memento mori. Remember that you will die. This phrase might sound morbid to modern ears, but for Stoics, contemplating mortality wasn't depressing. It was clarifying. It stripped away the trivial and brought life's true priorities into sharp focus. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This regular remembrance of death wasn't meant to induce fear, but to inspire purposeful living. When we forget our mortality, we often live as if we have unlimited time. We postpone joy, delay pursuing our deepest values, and waste precious hours on meaningless distractions. The remembrance of death serves as a powerful antidote to procrastination and trivial concerns. Ask yourself, if I knew I had 1 year left to live, how would I spend today? What would become more important? What would fall away? This thought experiment can reveal the gap between how you're currently living and what truly matters to you. Modern psychology confirms that a healthy awareness of mortality can increase gratitude, deepen relationships, and enhance meaning. It's not about being morbid, but about living with greater intention and appreciation for the limited time we have. The Stoics kept memento mori symbols as reminders. Today, you might set a subtle reminder on your phone or keep a meaningful symbol that serves as your personal memento mori, prompting regular reflection on life's brevity and preciousness. Lesson number 8, focusing on your own progress. In an age of social media and constant comparison, this Stoic principle is more relevant than ever. Stoics understood that comparing ourselves to others leads to envy, resentment, and dissatisfaction, emotions that distract from our own growth. Epictetus advised, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. Don't wish to be thought to know anything. And if you appear to be somebody important to others, distrust yourself. The only meaningful comparison is between who you were yesterday and who you are today. Are you making progress in developing patience, courage, wisdom, and self-discipline? These internal qualities, not external achievements or possessions, were what Stoics valued. When you feel the pull of comparison, redirect your attention to your own journey. Celebrate your progress no matter how small. Remember that everyone's path is different, and the external success we see in others often hides internal struggles we know nothing about. Modern psychology calls this self-referential growth and recognizes its importance for sustainable motivation and genuine satisfaction. By focusing on your own progress rather than others' achievements, you reclaim your power and peace of mind. Today, try noticing when comparison thoughts arise. Gently redirect your attention to your own path, asking, what small step can I take today to move forward according to my own values? Lesson number 9, practicing amor fati. This beautiful Latin phrase means love of fate, or loving whatever happens. It represents one of Stoicism's most profound and challenging practices, embracing not just the good in life, but everything that comes our way. Epictetus taught, don't seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events to happen as they do happen, and your life will go smoothly. This isn't passive resignation, but active acceptance, finding value and opportunity in whatever life presents. When facing a challenge, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what is this teaching me? This simple shift transforms obstacles from burdens into opportunities for growth. It doesn't deny difficulty, but reframes it as a necessary part of your journey. Modern resilience research confirms that finding meaning in adversity is key to not just surviving challenges, but actually growing through them. Psychologists call this post-traumatic growth, the positive psychological change that can occur following difficult life circumstances. Practicing amor fati doesn't mean you never work to change circumstances. It means you accept the present moment fully while taking wise action toward a better future. It's about eliminating the resistance that causes so much of our suffering. Today, if you encounter a challenge, try saying, this is happening for me, not to me. What opportunity might be hidden within this difficulty? This practice transforms your relationship with life's inevitable challenges, revealing the gifts that often come disguised as obstacles. Lesson number 10, cultivating inner wealth. Stoics understood that true wealth isn't measured by money or possessions, but by the quality of our mind. They recognized that external prosperity without inner wealth leads to emptiness, while inner wealth creates fulfillment regardless of external circumstances. Seneca, who was one of Rome's wealthiest men, wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." He understood that contentment comes from wanting what we already have, not from having what we want. Inner wealth includes qualities like wisdom, self-sufficiency, resilience, compassion, and equanimity. Unlike material possessions, these qualities can never be taken from you. They don't depreciate over time or require insurance. They are truly yours. To cultivate inner wealth, invest at least as much time in developing your character as you do in developing your career. Read widely, reflect deeply, seek wisdom from both ancient and modern sources. Practice virtues like patience when standing in line, courage when facing fears, and justice in your dealings with others. Modern happiness research confirms what Stoics knew intuitively, that after our basic needs are met, additional material wealth contributes little to lasting happiness. What matters far more is the development of inner qualities and meaningful connections. Today, consider how you might invest in your inner wealth. What quality would you like to develop? What wisdom might you seek? Remember that unlike external possessions, your inner wealth accompanies you through every circumstance of life. Lesson number 11. Practicing sympathia. Sympathia is the Stoic understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. It's the recognition that we are not isolated individuals but part of a greater whole, connected to other people, to society, and to the natural world. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "Meditate often on the interconnectedness and mutual interdependence of all things in the universe. For in a sense, all things are mutually woven together and therefore have an affinity for each other." This perspective naturally fosters compassion. When we truly understand our interconnection with others, their joys and sorrows become, in some sense, our own. We recognize that harming others ultimately harms ourselves, while contributing to others' well-being enhances our own. In practice, sympathia might mean considering how your actions affect others and the broader environment. It means recognizing that the stranger on the street is not fundamentally different from you. They too experience hopes, fears, joys, and sorrows. Modern science, from ecology to quantum physics, confirms this ancient wisdom of interconnection. We now understand that the boundaries we perceive between ourselves and others, or between humanity and nature, are more permeable than we once believed. Today, try expanding your circle of concern. Consider how your choices affect others, including those distant in space or time. Practice seeing yourself as part of a greater whole rather than as an isolated individual. This perspective naturally fosters both responsibility and compassion. Lesson number 12, practicing philosophical flexibility. While Stoics had clear principles, they weren't rigid in their thinking. They valued pragmatism over dogmatism and were willing to adapt their views in light of new information or changed circumstances. Seneca wrote, "I don't bind myself to some particular one of the Stoic masters. I, too, have the right to form my own opinion." This intellectual flexibility is not weakness but strength, the ability to learn, grow, and refine one's understanding over time. In practice, this means holding your beliefs firmly enough to guide your actions, but loosely enough to revise them when evidence warrants. It means being willing to say, "I was wrong," or "I've changed my mind," when deeper understanding emerges. When you encounter ideas that challenge your existing beliefs, approach them with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Ask, "What might I learn here?" rather than immediately looking for ways to prove the other perspective wrong. Modern cognitive science confirms that intellectual flexibility, the ability to update our mental models in light of new information, is a key component of intelligence and wisdom. It's what allows us to navigate our complex, rapidly changing world effectively. Today, identify one belief you hold strongly. Consider what evidence might cause you to revise or refine that belief. This practice of intellectual flexibility keeps your thinking fresh and prevents the calcification of ideas that no longer serve you well. Lesson number 13, returning to simplicity. In a world of endless complexity and constant stimulation, Stoics valued simplicity in possessions, in daily routines, and in focus. They understood that outer simplicity creates space for inner depth. Epictetus advised, "If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters. Don't wish to seem knowledgeable, and if some regard you as important, distrust yourself." Practicing simplicity might mean decluttering your physical space, eliminating unnecessary commitments from your calendar, or reducing digital distractions. It means focusing on what truly matters rather than being pulled in countless directions. The Stoics practiced regular periods of voluntary simplicity, temporarily living with less than their means would allow. This practice helped them distinguish between wants and needs and find contentment independent of external abundance. Modern research on attention and decision-making confirms the wisdom of simplicity. We now understand that constantly switching between tasks and stimuli depletes our mental resources and impairs our ability to think deeply and make wise decisions. Today, Consider one area of your life you could simplify. Perhaps it's your morning routine, your digital consumption, or your physical space. Remember that simplicity isn't deprivation. It's the intentional clearing away of the non-essential to make room for what truly matters. As we conclude, remember that Stoicism isn't just a set of ideas to understand. It's a practice to embody. These 13 principles work together, reinforcing one another as you integrate them into your daily life. Start small, perhaps with a 5-minute daily reflection, or by asking yourself, "Is this within my control?" When you feel stressed. These tiny practices, consistently applied, can transform your relationship with life's challenges and opportunities. The ancient Stoics weren't perfect, and neither will you be. They understood that wisdom is not a destination but a journey, one that lasts a lifetime. Each day offers new opportunities to practice, to stumble, to learn, and to grow. If you found value in these principles, share them with someone who might benefit. And if you'd like to dive deeper into Stoic wisdom, check out the recommended resources in the description below. Remember, the purpose of philosophy isn't just knowledge, it's transformation. May these ancient principles serve as a practical guide as you navigate life's challenges with wisdom, courage, and tranquility.